Hey, this is Karl from Kidology.org, and you are listening to Kidmin Talk, the 101st episode. Hey, we got a great topic today. It is kids ministry in a digital age, and that could go a lot of directions, but we're going to focus on keeping kids safe, not only at church, but at home. I've got a great guest today. He is a dad of 5 and also a pioneer and an innovator in keeping kids safe at church. And so I invited Alex Smith from KidCheck to join me today, not just to talk check-in systems, but to talk about this challenging subject of keeping our kids safe in this risky digital age. So whether you're driving or in the office or at home, it's time to talk Kidmin. Hey, Alex, thanks so much for joining me again here on Kidmin Talk. It's been a while since we did our last interview.
Yeah, it has been a while, but congratulations on 101 episodes. That is really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and I'm always so encouraged as I run into people at conferences that let me know that they listen. Now they watch, because now I'm doing this where we kind of do both the audio and the video. And so that's fantastic. Thanks, folks, for your encouragement and just always spurring me on to keep doing this. Well, hey, we've got an important topic today, and I asked Alex to come on. As you know, he's a partner with Kidology. I love promoting what KidCheck does, but I want you to know this isn't just about KidCheck. Maybe you use another check-in system, or maybe you can't change because the boss man won't let you. Hey, I've been there and totally understand, but we're going to talk a little broader than that, but then we are going to learn some amazing things that KidCheck is doing and how they're innovating the whole area of keeping kids safe at church. But there's a lot more than just check-in. I mean, that's an essential. If you're not using a secure check-in system, you ought to. Alex would agree with me. We don't care what system you use a system and keep the kids safe at church. And so we'll get into that. But it's just a different world today. I mean, communication with our volunteers and parents has changed. I remember when we used to do the newsletters, and we would I remember taping, my clip art, and I still have on my shelves clip art books, which don't get used anymore. I should probably get rid of those. And then, but there was one company that provided awesome digital newsletter shells, and they went out of business recently. And I think my heart breaks for them, but I think more and more churches are just not even bothering with that. And as much as I felt bad, I felt worse that I hadn't been a customer for a few years because people just won't read those newsletters. So man, we use email, of course. We use a closed Facebook group so that we can post updates to parents and volunteers in a way that's safe. They're not worried about pictures of their kids on the internet. So we police it. And sorry, Kidology people, you can't join my church's Facebook group. We only let you in if you're a volunteer or a parent at our church. So, and then we use text messaging. And there's great apps out there like GroupMe. I think I got that right. For communicating with staff. So many people don't even read their emails. So we have to text them. So today's Friday. I'll be sending out a text message to all of the volunteers for Sunday, just reminding them they're on. We use an online Google document that everyone can access to remember their assignments and what they're doing and what weeks they're on. And that's pretty cool. And a lot of churches I know are developing their own apps even. But I really want to focus in on keeping kids safe because this really hits home for me. I've got an 11-year-old and you've got 5 kids. What are your kids' ages, Alex?
Boy, I have 2 15-year-olds. I have a 14-year-old. I have a 12-year-old and an 11-year-old.
11-year-old. So on the bottom end, you're with me. You're at that stage where they're not really, you don't really worry too much about them searching for the nefarious parts of the web. But their online access is increasing. And
Sure.
So it's more the stumbling upon, and then after the stumbling, there could become a curiosity. And kids are savvy today. Your 15-year-olds, are those twins?
No, actually, I have a blended family. So
Okay. So
my wife and I each have a 15-year-old. And actually, to your point, Karl, as the kids get older, they get more and more reliant on technology and especially communication with their friends and that kind of thing. And that just leads to so many potential opportunities for accounts to get hacked or other issues that may pop up. My 15-year-old daughter just went through and she actually volunteered to go shut down all of her social media accounts. She actually had one of her accounts that got hacked, and somebody was posting, on her behalf, I guess, but not with her knowledge.
Yeah.
And, man, she was really upset about that stuff, and it was unfortunately it was one of those things that we were kind of like, well, we kind of told you so. You got to be careful with this stuff. But until it happened, then she really believed us and started becoming much more aware of sort of the dangers of using technology and media.
Oh yeah, and with the cyberbullying that goes on, and there's been such tragic stories in the news where those have sometimes taken a tragic turn. It can be fun though to post. If I go and someone's have a friend that leaves their Facebook open, I've put once for my youth pastor, I put off to ballerina rehearsal. And he had fun with that.
Nice.
And of course, my wife, I had to post one time this lengthy post about how wonderful her husband was, and but nobody fell for it. They all said, "Looks like Carl's on your iPhone."
But not sign those cards.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's tough, and my son loves YouTube and loves watching his Amazing World of Gumball and loves Minecraft videos, and we love Clash Royale, and so they've got fun little videos of strategy on there. And I was delighted to find out recently, and maybe I was late to the party, but YouTube has released a YouTube app for kids called YT Tube or YT Kids, YouTube Kids. I highly recommend it. It's free. Luke was a little nervous because he thought it was going to be all the screenshots in the App Store were all cheesy little kind of preschool looking videos, and so he was worried about that. But you can actually set as a parent if it's restricted to those videos or a little broader. And but he has not been restricted from anything that he enjoys, and so he has not complained. And we feel a whole lot better because if he's sitting there watching videos, the related videos are not going to lead him down an alley that we would rather him not go down. Netflix, I think a lot of us are Netflix subscribers, and for a long time, in fact, I emailed them multiple times years ago saying, help me with my kid. I don't want my kid seeing the first thing, recommended movies and history based on my viewing. I'm not watching bad stuff, but I am an adult. I will watch things that I don't want my 10-year-old to watch. Sure. And they have now released where they have channels. And so Luke opens his Netflix and he clicks on his name. It's not password protected. That's my next suggestion to them, because he could click on Karl or Sarah and go into our accounts. And but at least he doesn't have any interest in doing that at this point. But I just learned from a parent in my church about a new service called PureFlix, and it is pureflix.com. I took some notes here. It's $10.99 a month or $99 for the year, and it's all Christian or wholesome movies. And I have not tried it out yet. They do offer a free month, so I plan to sign that up. I just learned about it. But they love it, and they said for family movie nights and things, they're enjoying that. So that's one thing we can do, is just watching the content and what they're watching for entertainment.
And Karl, there's actually another product that we use at our house called Plex, which actually works great for the video libraries that you have. So
okay.
If you have downloaded content that you've got, or even family photos and home videos and that kind of thing, Plex is just like Netflix, but you load it on your own computer.
Interesting.
And then you can have password protected accounts for the kids, so that they can only see the content that you want them to see.
How do you spell that?
It's PLEX, and the website is plex.tv.
Okay.
But the really cool feature is that if you have friends that also have Plex, they can put their content on their home computers, and then you can share them. You can actually share the content between systems.
So is it being stored in the cloud, or?
No, it's actually stored on your local computer, so nothing ever leaves your network. But when I open up my Plex, I can see my friend Darren's Plex account and the movies that he's got. So if he just went and recently added a new movie or whatever, I can go and just go pull it off of his computer.
That's fascinating, because Luke loves our home movies. He loves watching videos that we took of him when he was little on the roller coaster at Disneyland. But I'm managing his iPad, and I have to take things off and on
Yeah.
And so he'll say, Dad, what happened to my roller coaster movie? Well, you wanted the Scooby-Doo on there. And he's got a lot of gigabytes on his hand-me-down
Sure.
iPad. But I can actually set up then, it basically streams it through the internet from my computer. Ooh.
And actually, you can actually load it on his iPad. So there's an iPad app that you put on there as well that you can go through and you can say, okay, I want these 2 movies or 3 movies or however many you want downloaded to the iPad, so that when you're driving through the middle of Nevada
or airplane trips.
Yeah, airplane trip. He can still be watching the movies that you downloaded. And then you get to your location that has internet again. You can say like, okay, delete these and let's add these for the trip back home, and it'll pull those back
I
down
love
to
that.
us.
Is there a charge for that?
They do charge for different levels of service. I
Okay.
think the basic one is free. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well, I will put that in the show notes, and I will be checking that out myself.
Yeah.
Another cool device is Disney did not originate it, but Disney bought into it and has branded it and given it much more exposure, and it's called a Circle. And I should have grabbed it, but I think it would kill our internet connection. Circle is a little device. It's not circle. It's actually square. That's strange. But it's basically, you plug it into your router. And the nice thing is it's not a monthly fee. It's $99 to buy the Circle device. But then you set up networks in your home. So, sometimes a filter might be great for the kid, but it hinders the adult doing their work and their research. So I can set up a network for Luke, and there's a network for me and my wife. We share the same one. And then we actually set up a network for guests. And so that way, the beauty is you can even set times. So Luke wants to fall asleep watching something in his bedroom, but then I don't want him waking up in the middle of the night and doing YouTube at 2 a.m. So I can turn off the internet for him and set what time of day his internet turns on and turns off. And of course, choose no explicit content and things like other criteria. And that's been really helpful. Another one that I discovered, I was at church one day and one of my kids was mad, and I could tell she was upset. So I said, hey, what's going on? And she's like looking at her phone. She goes, my dad said my apps would be back by 9 o'clock this morning and my apps aren't back. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's, well, I got grounded and my dad made my apps disappear, but it was supposed to be 24 hours. And I'm going, how does your dad do that? So cool. I asked Dad, and this service called ourpact.com, and it's really designed that you make a pact with your kids. And so you install the software. It's free for one kid. I think it's $2 a month if you've got more kids, and then the full all features is $5 a month. But as a parent, if you want to ground your kid, instead of like deleting that addictive game, you can go into your app and it vanishes from the kid's device, but it's not really deleted, it's hidden. You can also, like Luke, I bought him a t-shirt that says one more brick, because when he's playing Minecraft, and me too, Mom's saying it's bedtime, and it's just one more brick, and so you can actually set, well, you can play Minecraft for an hour a day, and when that hour's up, it just will not, that app will no longer work.
I think I need that with 3 teenagers in the house. I'm going to need that app. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So have you used anything similar to manage your kids' access and time or content?
Yeah, we use a tool. In fact, we use it here at my office as well as at my house called OpenDNS, and it's actually a pretty large organization that Cisco Systems actually purchased. But OpenDNS, it allows you to go through and you make a couple of changes to your home's Wi-Fi router, and it's really easy to do. And then you
have your teenager do it.
Yeah, exactly, no problem. Yeah, or I'll have them call one of us up and we'll do it for them, no problem. But it's very simple to set up, and then you log into their interface, and then it just gives you categories of content that you want filtered out.
Wow.
So then you can say, okay, here's the 10 categories, and they probably have 100 categories of stuff that you can put in there. But it won't let any computers on your network access that content at all. So it is for
beyond just the porn and the serious stuff, it breaks it down into maybe even just other subjects that maybe you don't want kids.
You can turn off social media. You can turn off instant messenger traffic. You can turn off alcohol and guns and firearms and whatever the topics are that you don't want to have.
Wow, and how much does that cost?
It's actually free, so it's free for your first network.
Wow.
We have a pretty big office set up here, so we pay for it, but it's a fantastic service. We've been using it for years, and it really is just sort of a great catch-all, safety net, so that you can take off, all the adult sites, get rid of all this stuff. And the nice thing is that even when you're looking at a website that may have good content on there, the ads that they run sometimes are very questionable. And so it'll actually even filter out some of those ads sometimes.
Nice.
And who the publisher is.
That sounds like something might be wise to have at church, because churches will have an open network, or even they'll give a password, but it's for anybody to use. And it was kind of funny. I was at church a couple years ago, and I was showing some kids my Minecraft world on my iPad. But because I was on the church's land, you can join other worlds. And so there was this other little world, and so I joined it and said, "Hey, this is Pastor Karl." And I was just a volunteer at this church, but I said, "Hey," they knew me as one of their teachers. So I said, "Hey, this is Teacher Karl." And so this kid replied back, "Oh, hi, I'm so and so," and gave me their name. And I was like, "Where are you?" And she said, "Oh, I'm up in class, And it wasn't even occurring to me, because I know I'm a good person and a leader. We had this little chat, and then when I went up there, I could see in the classroom, I tracked her all the way to her classroom. She was supposed to be listening to the lesson, but she was on her phone. And then I felt bad, because then I got her in trouble, because I told the leader, she's doing Minecraft. And so later I said that was cool. But it didn't hit me till that afternoon. Okay, obviously I was doing ministry, but any adult could have come in there and said, "Hey, I got candy in my car in the parking lot," or whatever. And that's stereotypical, but they could have had a communication with a kid at church. And I thought, and no one said, "Hey, Karl, you shouldn't have done that." I think because of who I am and I'm known there, it didn't occur to anyone, but it hit me that if I could do that, anyone could do that. And obviously the kid would have to be on Minecraft, but there are smart predators that know how to get to where kids are and interact with kids. So that sounds like something that, man, just have it on the church network could be powerful.
It's and I think because at a church, because we haven't known very well how to block just the stuff that we don't want. So then we go to the extreme and say we'll block everything except the sites that we know about that we do want to allow access to. But then the challenge is there's always good content on something that we on a different site than we have on our giant exhaustive list of allowed sites. So this particular product really does a good job of filtering out unwanted content, unknown stuff, and still allows access to all the good stuff that's out there. So
that's fantastic. And then so Meet Circle, it's meetcircle.com is one option. Our Pact is another. This Open DNS is great. You mentioned to me one called PF Sense.
Yeah. PF Sense.
What does that one do? And that one's free too.
Yeah, so PF Sense, this is actually what we use at my house. It's our firewall that we use at the house. So the little boxes that you get, with your DSL line and that kind of stuff, the typical firewall software that's on there isn't very good or configurable. So if you tend to lean more on the geeky side of life, PF Sense is a full-fledged firewall software. It's free. It's open source. It truly is enterprise class, but it gives complete flexibility with however you want to allow or deny access to your network at home or at the office, for example. So like with my kids, we have a policy in my house. We're pretty restrictive in terms of what we allow the kids to have in terms of internet access. And so we call it, we kind of think of it as our keeping honest people honest policy. So we have basically set up hours that kids can use their laptops to jump online, do homework, pull down math videos and do Khan Academy and all that kind of stuff. And so that they just know, okay, we have access starting at 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock every single night, Monday through Friday. And that's just sort of the open hours. And we use PF Sense to basically go through and schedule all those times out, what sites they can get to, all of that kind of thing. So just if you're looking for something more than just sort of the out of the box options, it sounds like Circle has got some really good options in terms of locking things down. But PF Sense is some software you can put on an old PC in your house and just run as a network firewall.
Wow!
And it's really, really powerful.
That's
They
cool.
can do all kinds of great stuff.
And Circle, the $99 device, it's limited to Wi-Fi. So a savvy kid, if he's got cellular data, could switch to that. But they do offer a monthly fee where then it will do it, no matter how they're online. So it can be a little overwhelming. These are several options. If you know of others, those of you listening, in the Facebook discussion that'll be linked in the show notes, please do post those links and share those. Everyone's going to have different degrees of technical savvy, different desires for how restrictive they want to be, but do something. I mean, I was trying to think of a good analogy. We wouldn't drop our kid off in the middle of a city and say, hey, we'll pick you up at dinner, go do whatever you want. And yet the reality is that world is completely accessible to them just on a device.
It really is the Wild West. I mean, the internet is absolutely the Wild West, and the restrictions and the policing of that is really far behind compared to what technology and things are out there and available. So, so I think it is absolutely wise and behooves every parent out there to do something to at least protect your kids on digitally at home, either with some site restrictions or content filtering or something. So
and I'm so glad to hear from a dad who's managing this and helps to be a geek. But there are solutions for those that are intimidated by the technology. It's worth the time, and if you offered that you can help them out, you may get hundreds of calls, I don't know, but they've got to know some geeky person at church to say, hey, could you help me set this up, have them watch the podcast. And there's going to be guys or gals, I don't want to be stereotypical, tends to be us guys that are geeky. My wife told me I'm not allowed to die because she wouldn't know what to do. I helped her through some problems with her iPhone and getting all her pictures off, and there was some technical glitch. She's like, I could not have done what you just did, so you're not allowed to die.
Nice.
and I said, well, I'm glad I'm good for something. So those are some options at home. And as a dad, obviously you know about that and you speak to that, and that's a reality for you. But at church, we have some concerns too, and we talked about maybe that PF Sense would work at church.
Absolutely.
When it comes to check-in, and obviously that's your passion, I'm not going to take time to talk about why we ought to have it. I think most of the people watching or listening to this podcast, they know that. Even if they don't currently have a system, they know they should, because we want to make sure that the person who drops off the child is the person who picks up the child. And that's why we do tag, and they pretty much all work the same in that they print a tag and there's a code. They have to show that code. By the way, if you're struggling with getting your volunteers to understand the seriousness and to follow it, I did just post on Kidology a security video that I made for my own volunteers, but I made it generic. I didn't mention the name of my church, and I tried to make it fun. I kind of dressed up like a secret agent, and in a computer room, and but I kind of hit hard, and it's a video that you can send out the link to your volunteers it just goes through the basic, never alone rule and some touch rules, and it goes into the importance of the check-in label. And I get pretty blunt about the risk that the church can face from lawsuits or not wanting to be that person who allowed something to happen. And I go so far as to say, if you don't follow these, you may be graciously and lovingly asked to serve in another ministry of the church. So if you're wanting something that's got a little bit of a bite and some teeth and maybe nicely scare people into realizing the seriousness, I'd encourage you to check out that link. And I will post that in the show notes as well, because it's something that you're welcome to send that video out and let me be the bad guy. And I'd say require your volunteers to all watch it. And that'd be great.
Another resource to throw out there as well. So, at KidCheck, we do a lot more than just check-in systems. We actually do quite a bit of training, and we have an entire. In fact, one of the gals on staff here has been through quite a bit of online training as well as physical site training, and helps customers or helps churches put together a child protection policy. She's actually
fantastic.
got a 1-hour webinar that she does specifically on that. And then she and I do a couple of other webinars on just things to remember and keeping your ministry safe. So tons of resources on our website at KidCheck.com, totally free. You don't have to be a customer. It's just really, really good information.
Okay. So when they go to KidCheck.com, where would they click to access those resources?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can get you the link and
yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. And because we understand, and Alex understands, sometimes you just can't make a change. You've invested in equipment, you've invested in software. Sometimes it's integrated church-wide with the church database, and you may love KidCheck, you may love another checking company, and the boss man's like, no, we're not changing. We went through this process 3 years ago. I'm in a new church, and I wanted to make a change to KidCheck, and my boss said, every new kids pastor, the first thing they want to do is change the check-in. And he said, give it a year. And I thought, that's totally valid. Oh, no, he's going to watch this podcast. But that's totally valid. Work with what you have. But that's neat to know that they can still benefit from some training resources from KidCheck as well. I know Protect My Ministry, who we use for background checks, they also provide some videos, and we require all of our volunteers to watch those. They're not fancy, but it actually does track that they go through. You send them a customizable link. They have to watch all these short videos, and when they're done, they have to answer a little quiz. I did miss one question. My wife got 100%. But then it notifies you as an admin which volunteers have watched those videos. So that may be another option out there, especially if you're already using Protect My Ministry. But one of the things when it comes to check-in that I was excited to learn about from KidCheck, and I'm hoping if my boss is watching this, I would love at some point to be able to implement this express check-in that you're doing. There's obviously lots of you don't want to call them competition, I guess they are. Lots of options out there for secure check-in, and at a basic, they're probably all good. Some of the ones out there, and I'm not going to mention by name because I don't, they're all doing good things and we're all part of the kingdom. But I am surprised by some that offer a lot less than you guys do, and some even charge more. And so I do want to give you that opportunity to kind of pitch what you do and how you do it. But tell us about this express check-in, because I got goosebumps when you were telling me about this previously. And I'm just chomping at the bit to focus on the other areas I need to focus on. But man, my unabashed goal is to have this at my church, and because it sounds fascinating and it fits with this digital age. I mean, we're ministering to parents and we're trying to communicate the way they receive things with texts and everything. They've all got smartphones now, and the biggest frustration of check-in systems, and the one I'm currently using has got its headaches, and that's why I won't say by name because I don't want to disparage any company out there that's doing their best and trying hard. But man, the lines and the problems with the computers and getting the stickers to print correctly and all that. And so, man, it sounds like Christmas, this express check-in. So tell us about it.
This is actually an idea we had a couple of years ago, and I think one of the challenges that most churches have with check-in is that children's ministry pastors and Kidmin folks, they sign up to minister because they love kids, not because they want to be IT people. They don't want to manage systems. They don't, that's the stuff that I love to do. That's not the stuff they love to do. Yeah. So, one of the things that an idea that we came across was, how can we leverage the phone, it's basically a supercomputer in your own pocket. There you go.
This is more technological than the spaceship that landed on the moon.
Yeah, by a long shot. And so, how do we leverage that technology and the internet connection that those phones have? Which I think the statistic that I saw last was that for people under 30, 98% of the population in the United States have a smartphone. Wow. So it's almost, totally across the board. So we built this express check-in idea with the idea that, we can load an app on the phone and allow a parent to check in when they're at home or when they're in the car on the way. Well, not driving, hopefully, but in the car,
the spouse who's not driving can do it.
Right. Or the kid that's in the back seat.
Oh, man.
They can check themselves in. And so we made this app that is very, very simple. They can go ahead and check in without any issue. And then the phone detects automatically when they get to church. When they we have a little device.
So I check in, and I say Luke's coming to church today. He's going to the 4th and 5th grade class, and then it pauses the process.
Yeah.
And then when I walk up to the check-in, what happens on my phone?
Yeah. So it will save the check-in, and then it just starts searching for our Print Hub Express, which is a little box about that big. In fact, I have one on the other side of the room I can grab if you want to see it. But basically, once your phone is within about 30 feet of that box, the phone will actually enable a button that just says complete check-in. And you push that button, and then it'll just give you a list of printers that your phone can see nearby. And you can just say, like, oh, yeah, printer 6. You push the button, and it just spits labels off of printer 6. So
wow, so I would basically look for the shortest line or the printer that has no one by it, walk up and go, right, printer 6, and print that tag.
It's actually and the amount of data that we're sending back and forth is just so small that the labels come off almost instantaneously. So there's actually not even a need for a computer except for maybe new visitors that come in. But you can eliminate computers completely. You just have these little boxes around, and it's actually so fast that you don't have to even break stride as a parent. You can come by, hit the button, the labels come off, you tear them off, and you just keep going to class.
Wow. So
it has been there's like evolutionary ideas in a product's life. This is really a revolutionary idea because there's nothing for the church to maintain. It just is it's just fast and easy.
Wow. And one thing I want to make sure people know, because I fit in this category myself, is our church uses a database system. It's one that's church-wide, so it's used for finances. The staff uses it for communication. And so changing databases isn't even an option for me. Sure. But what I've been excited about you guys innovating is, and I asked you before, like, can I even say this? Because it was, this is something that's relatively new. But you've created, I was going to say API, but that's geeky. You've created technical plugins for many of the popular databases out there. So you may not have to give up the database system your church uses. You can have KidCheck be what the parents see and experience, and then KidCheck will interface with the church's database, right, so that you can use KidCheck without having to ask your pastor and leadership and other ministries to completely do a church-wide change. What are some of the companies that you are able to interface with?
Well, as of right now, we have 5 different companies that we interface with. And there's some of the bigger ones that are out there, like CCB, and then even down on the legacy side with customers that are using systems like Church Windows, as well as Breeze, CHMS, and then there's a couple of others that we integrate with as well. And the idea being that a lot of church database companies want to talk about having a single database architecture and sort of the value to an organization around that. And the challenge is that check-in is often one of those plug-in features that really isn't fully developed, and so it's sort of good enough. And the idea that we had was like, well, if a customer really wants true security and true best of breed when it comes to check-in, and still maintain that single database, our system will plug into those databases and just pass all that information back and forth.
It's so important because I know at the last ministry I was at, and you know which company it was, which I don't want to say, if a parent lost their ticket, they could go up to a check-in station, enter the child's name, and hit reprint. And I was pulling my hair out going, why even have a check-in system? Because your nefarious character could walk up, type in Luke Bastian, print a tag, and show up and say, Sarah got tied up and she asked me to come, get the kid. And I was like, we might as well just say, hey, just go grab your kids and let's save the lines and all the hassle, because that is no security system. I did learn that it was because initially we had the admin set up on all the devices. And so there was a way to correct that, but it wasn't obvious. And you mentioned, I think through me, that you can go up and enter a name and get all the personal information gets displayed, and that can be certainly at risk. So I love that if and I totally get that the boss wants one system across the board. Worship's using it, finance, and moving finance from one system to another. I mean, you could probably get a fourth person added to the Trinity more easily than ask the finance committee to switch software. I mean, that's just a daunting task. But they can basically use KidCheck on top of that. And so when a parent does their thing, if they update their phone number or their address, it's going to basically tell the database. And in fact, even when they initially sign up, I think it pulls their info from the database. So that's fantastic.
KidCheck, they type in their phone number at the check-in station. It'll just go and check your church management system and pull that information straight across.
And keep it updated. Because I do agree that you don't want to have a kids ministry, because if a family moves, you don't want to have to update it in two places. So that's fantastic. Do you mind grabbing that little device?
Let me get it real quick.
And let us see what that is? Because I think this is really revolutionary, because every family, they've got the smartphones. And you joked about the kids checking in, but we have kids walking up to the computer and doing check-in. I have kind of asked them to not just send their kid to check in, because I say they're really not our responsibility till you give them to us. I had to talk to one dad because he would just send his kids. They would do the whole check-in, and I said, what happens when your daughter's not there at pickup, and you say, well, I sent her to the check-in? I'm like, they're our responsibility once you're there and hand them over. But if the parent's standing there or in the car, kids love doing this stuff.
Sure.
That'd be
absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. So this is what the what the little box looks like.
Oh my goodness!
Hub Express.
That looks like an Apple TV.
Yeah. So you can you can talk to your network wirelessly, or you can plug it straight into a network port, and then off the back of the box you can actually plug up to 4 printers into it directly. And then you can also get USB hubs, and you can print a maximum of 128 printers on one little box.
Okay, so you're not limited to the 4. You just stick a hub in there.
Yeah, you can just keep going if you want. So, but the idea is that you can use one or more of these to kind of spread your printers out over the building, put some by the doors, or wherever it makes sense. And then as parents are coming in, as soon as you're within range, it'll just let you know, and you go, oh yeah, this is the one I want to go print to.
That's awesome. So
really fast.
What do you do with the visitor then? That where you have just one iPad with the KidCheck software on there to check in, and then next week you would tell them download the phone, or would you have them download the app and register right in the app?
Either way.
So you could literally have no iPads and no computers if you wanted.
You really could. As a parent would go through and download the app, and then just proceed to do check-in at that point. Having an iPad there is nice, because then you can interface with the person and kind of give them some instruction. You can help them set up their account, get them into the right places, and then just hey, go put the app on your phone, and then next week you can kind of just do what all these other folks are doing and go do express check-in. So
wow,
it's pretty awesome.
Well, the express check-in's amazing, and I know nobody else is doing it like this, if at all. But you guys also have just so many other features. I mean, the reporting is amazing. The text messaging, of course, the tags have not only the number and allergies, but I love the little symbol you have on there that can just make it's kind of a quick. You should still check the number, but sure. How many of those symbols is there? Like 150?
There's actually 50.
Okay.
That are randomly printed on there, and the idea was if you have somebody like your security team that's doing checkout, and they're just they're starting to see numbers in their brains because they're checking so many security tags as they come through. It's just another really quick way to double check that. Hey, if they all have little elephants on there or little beach balls or whatever, then you kind of know. Oh yeah, okay, this all.
Yeah, or immediately they don't match before you even get into the number. So that's really cool. What are some of the other features of KidCheck that people just love?
The new one, or one of the features that we get a lot of great feedback on is our mobile admin console. So an administrator, a teacher, whoever, can put the admin app on their cell phone and get a complete running roster of everybody that's in their classroom. And then if somebody needs to call a child out of a classroom and to bring them back up, or communicate that with a parent, when the parent gets to the counter to pick up their child, an administrator just looks on their phone, just selects the child's name and says call, and then it dings on the teacher's phone as well.
Nice.
I got to send Sally up to meet her parents.
Okay. At my last church, we had a big Wednesday night program, and pickup took forever. So we did what we called a valet service. We had a line parents would bring their tag, and we had runners that would run and find the kids and bring them to, because we just couldn't let all these parents come into the room. It was not only congestion but security. But this would have solved that, because they would have just come up and we would have just called it, and then that small group would have said, okay, Andy, you can go, or Luke, or whatever.
And then when the child is actually on the way to go back up to the front to meet their parents, the teacher actually can acknowledge the call, and it will switch the phone or the device that the administrator up front is looking at, so they know, okay, Andy's on his way, and they know exactly.
And that's a way to also, the teacher doesn't leave until they know they have checked out. So it's really a checkout system, which a lot of times the checkout system is when you're out of kids, you're done. But that would be nice, because you might go, oh, where's Billy? And he had wandered over to the bounce house or something, and the leader might have left, and then the parent might have showed up and said, where's my kid? And that leader then would know, boy, I'm not done until I check all these kids out. I like that. And then I think I remember that from the admin council, you could authorize reprinting of a tag as well, because that's a pain, because you have to say, well, you need to go back to check in and all that. And so they're able to see, isn't it the picture of the authorized user? We had a lady at my church, and I'm embarrassed to tell the story, but probably because I'm not alone, but we had a newcomer to our church, and she noticed when I was newer there that her son, they weren't asking for the tag. And so she was concerned. And so a couple of weeks later, her brother was in town. And she thought, okay, nobody knows my brother, so I'm just going to see if he can pick up our son. So she sent him, and he went in, and he was able to say, I want that kid. And the volunteer said, okay. And of course the kid went, hey, the kid showed recognition in the volunteer's defense. But then she came to me and said, look, a strange man, sorry to call my brother that, was able to pick up my son. And she wasn't happy, and rightfully so. And so I thanked her. In fact, the video that I produced was in response to that incident, because I wanted to really let our volunteers know, look, this cannot happen ever. There needs to be no exceptions. But with that administrator app, if that lady's brother had come to town, she could have actually taken a picture of him, added him as an authorized user, and so even if the tag was lost, the the early childhood director could have said, okay, do they scan the kid's tag?
Yeah, you can. If a church decides they want to do the full checkout process, they can scan the actual name tags.
So they could scan the name tag, that picture would come up, and then they would say you can go. So I mean, you guys are just loaded with amazing. You've really thought through what could go wrong.
One of the things that's really makes KidCheck really unique, I just want to add one more thing on there, is that a lot of people don't know that KidCheck actually has. We have a commercial side of our business as well. That KidCheck is in daycares and gyms and a lot of other non-church locations, and that parents' accounts actually can follow them through all those different types of facilities. So, for example, if you have a visitor that comes to church and they put in their KidCheck information and create an account, and then later that week they go to their gym and check their child into the children's area at the gym, and they say, oh, my phone number's wrong, and they update it at the gym, the church gets that change instantly as well. Nice. So all that information is synchronized, because we know that again, children's ministry pastors and Kidmin folk don't want to be IT administrators. You don't want to be chasing people down and trying to update data information. Yeah. As parents use the system, the information is just naturally.
Well, and I would think even a guest, if they already had a KidCheck check-in system somewhere else and they come, their job's easy. And I mean, it's kind of funny, like I use the Square app for processing sales at conventions and things. And a lot of times my customers, when we swipe their credit card, their name and email, it already comes up. And sometimes they're like, how'd you have that information? I say, no, I didn't have it. Square had it. You must have used Square somewhere else. But they go, oh, and they kind of like that they didn't have to type in their email and type. It was, but it wasn't that we had their data. Their data is secure as part of the Square software. So I think there could be the same effect where someone comes, and the fact that it's ironic. It used to be if the church endorses something, then, but now it's almost like, oh, well, we use this at the gym, so it must be good. I'm glad to see the church uses it also. So that's really cool. So, well, hey, there's a lot that people have to process and digest, things to do at home. I will update the show notes with all these different options. Again, if there's something you're aware of, share it, because this is an important arena of life, both home and church. And if KidCheck's got you curious about this express check-in, all the things they do, they will do a free demo. They'll schedule that. And I tell you what, when I did that free demo at my last ministry, my admin who ran it all, Darren was our guy that was doing the demo with us. He's fantastic. I know you've got other staff too. And she was just like a little girl at Christmas Day. It does that. It does that. It does that. And so you'll do that. So any final words, final plug, what you guys can do for folks?
Yeah, no, I just, we have a lot of resources available on our website. So, even if you're not a KidCheck customer, not interested in using anything KidCheck related, I'll definitely make sure to get you the link to that section, but you can just check it out at kidcheck.com. And it's the security in children's ministry is just absolutely paramount. So it's really important to us to make sure that as somebody in Kidmin that you have all the information and resources available that you possibly can. So and very few of the resources even mention KidCheck. It's really just about trying to make sure you guys have as much information and as many good ideas as possible to making sure that you're doing what you can to keep kids safe.
Well, thank you. Like you said, children's workers don't go into kids ministry to run computers and to become IT people. And so I'm very thankful for people like you who saw this need, took your own expertise as a programmer, created this. But I love that you keep innovating and you keep making it better. It makes me so curious what you're going to have a year or 2 years from now, because you've never settled. And so thank you so much. KidCheck.com. And remember, if you're a Kidology member, you get a discount on KidCheck for the first year. So be sure to go to kidology.org/KidCheck. There's information there as well. But whether you go through us or go direct or whoever you use, thanks everybody for keeping our kids safe. Until next time.